earth. It's the Tom and Mickey Show.
Everything is showbiz.
Lights, camera, action. Presenting...
Now, in case you haven't already guessed, I sang Liza, and Happiness is just a thing called Joe for two of my children, Joe and the other little girl called Liza. But I have another child, and she's pretty angry. She really is. And her name is Lorna. And nobody ever wrote a song about Lorna. And we looked everywhere. We found songs like Linda and Lily and Lola and Lorraine and Lulu and of course Cincinnati Lou and even Lydia the tattooed lady. But we couldn't find a Lorna. We just couldn't. And then we have a lovely theme that was written on our show by Mr. Mort Lindsay, our musical conductor. Mort, darling, play just a bar or so of your song, will you? Well, it's such a pretty melody, and we thought it would be nice to put some words to it. So we thought of asking one of the finest lyricists in the country if he could come and help us out. And I'm pretty thrilled because his name is Johnny Mercer, and you can't do better than that. I want to thank Johnny for writing such a beautiful lyric and for making Lorna a very happy little girl. Let's do your song now, Lorna, okay? I can't believe what I see. What I see astounds me. Mirrors of love are your eyes to me. Stars up above.
Always thrilled to have you.
Oh, thank you. This is the first time I've been here without hordes of people. It's very pretty.
So you lit the Empire State Building.
Yes.
That's not something we all put on our resumes. You kicked off Pride for New York City with our pal Eric Botcher, who's a former real estate agent.
Yes.
Who's now making the city a better place.
Yes.
And then you kicked off State Pride with the governor up in Albany.
Yes.
And then... you were telling us that you were working on your pitching arm.
Oh, my goodness. I was asked.
Please.
I was asked to throw out the first pitch at a Yankee game with the owners of the Stonewall Inn.
Oh.
And it was Pride at Yankee Stadium.
I love that.
One of my dearest friends is in the Steinbrenner family. Mm-hmm. She asked me, she said, "Would you want to throw out the first pitch?" And I, like a fool, said, "Oh, sure." And then I hung up the phone. I thought, what have I done? What have I done? I've never held a baseball in my life. Have I lost my mind?
No.
No, but I didn't know what to do. Oh. Okay? I didn't want to call Haley back and say, so I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll go get a baseball. Because I knew that there was...
Step one, get a baseball.
Get a baseball. And then I'll find somebody who knows
a catcher.
Who knows about baseball.
Okay.
So I had remembered that there was someone in my building, lovely, lovely guy, and he said that he knew a lot about baseball and that he coached it, with his children. I called him and I said, "You have to help me." And he started laughing and he said, "Okay." I said, "I bought a baseball at the Yankee store."
So it's official.
Oh, yeah. I bought the baseball. And he said, "Okay, we'll practice in the hallway." I said, "Well, that'll make the neighbors really happy." Okay. He said, "They don't care. Let's do this." And he started to show me how to do this, because it really is, when you see, you can't do the underhanded.
No.
That you just can't. Okay. So when I did the overhanded pitch, okay, you have to learn to balance yourself. And that's one of the reasons what what they physically do is really kind of interesting. So he taught me, he just said, okay, whatever arm you're going to use your opposite leg to balance yourself. Step first and make sure you're balanced and then throw it. And the more you do it, it'll come naturally. Well, it's never going to come naturally. So after we had like thrown it into the wall, we had thrown it, and nobody came out and yelled at us.
And nobody got hurt.
And nobody, no. And then I thought, okay. And then I have a friend of mine who's a wonderful, wonderful music director, and he pitched Coach Little. I said, help me. He said, we're going to go into Central Park. I said, okay. We went into Central Park, and I kept saying, this is great because I need to rehearse. And he said, come here. And I said, what? He said, you cannot say rehearse. You must say that you practiced. Do not embarrass.
There's no crying in baseball.
Exactly. How about no rehearsal? How about you
The score is tied at the bottom of intermission.
I
Yes,
love that you
exactly.
said rehearsal.
When the
though.
house lights go up.
What else would you
know,
say? You were rehearsing how to throw a pitch.
I was rehearsing. He said, don't say that. I said, okay.
No. I think you say that.
No, I think you say practiced.
All right.
Anyway, so the day came, I walked out onto the field, and that's when, as I was walking, I thought, oh my God, I'm thinking of Gary Cooper and Pride of the Yankees and Lou Gehrig, and I start to well up and I think, don't think about that now. Just get out there.
Stay focused.
Okay?
Yeah.
And they said, all right. And I looked at the catcher, and he smiled. He looked really far away, and I went,
Yeah. Get closer. Come a little closer.
he started to laugh. And I threw it. And I did it.
You were great.
And I was so happy that it was over. I mean, it was so happy.
No.
And this catcher, I don't know, I think he knew how terrified I was. And I just hugged him and said, thank you.
You were perfect.
And I'm really glad I did it. And I'm really glad that it's so incredible once you're out there. I mean, it would be like if I said to one of them, come on and sing.
Yeah, sure. That's the
Come
equivalent.
on.
That's perfect.
You can do that.
Yep.
But what they represent to New York and how generous the organization is and how charitable.
Yeah.
I mean, you realize that they are New York City.
Yes.
And New York State.
Yeah.
And so you just don't want to mess it up.
So you've been busy. You've been busy.
I mean, I have to say, look, it's coming to a close
Yes.
with the big Pride March, which I cannot wait to do.
Will you? So you'll be on a
No, I'm not going to be on a float.
You
I've done
won't.
that. And it was the funniest group of people I have ever been with. I was with my friend Randy Rainbow.
Oh,
Love
Wait,
Randy.
And Donatella Versace.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, what a group on this float for Stonewall. And it was just so wonderful. There were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people outside the Stonewall. And as we went by, all of the crowd started to sing Over the Rainbow. It was really wonderful.
This is the perfect time to go to the memory box.
I was going this. Where is the memory box?
It's right behind you. Can you reach around?
All right.
It's glossy.
We want you to tell us whatever memories you may have of this. Yes.
Oh, this is so sweet. Yes, that was my sister's wedding to Peter.
1967.
Yeah,
In our
it
research. So
was.
you were 15 in
Yep.
that photo?
Yep.
And you must have memories of it, right?
I do. I have memories of Peter, and he was my brother-in-law, and he was so incredibly gifted and kind and funny, and he was part of my family. He was so gifted in the sense of being everything from the songwriter to the performer to the family member. And I'm so grateful that I had Peter in my life because he was the big brother I never had. And I could always go to him. and say, I'm having a drama. 14 years old, having a drama. What a shock, right? Okay, tell me something nobody's ever had. Some, 14-year-old girl having a drama. Peter would always say, "Oh, darling," with that wonderful Australian accent, and he was there for me, and I was friendly with him up until we lost him, and it's something really close to my heart, that I had him. Mm-hmm. And I find the other night watching Melissa Manchester.
Yes.
And she wrote with him.
Yes.
And she knew.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't write with him. And she pointed that out when she did the show last. She wanted to write with him. And she was shocked that they
never did.
That they never did.
Because he wrote with Carol Sager, and then Melissa was writing with Carol.
They all knew each other, and they were friends.
Right.
But they never did a song together.
But wait, am I wrong in thinking "Don't Cry Out Loud"?
Well, no. I mean, she had a huge hit with that song, but she didn't write it. She didn't write it. It was Peter and Carol.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were all friends.
You take it for granted that Melissa was on.
Of course.
You would think.
On that.
Yeah.
Because it was such a tour de force for her.
Huge hit.
And I love Melissa. She's so gorgeously talented, and I'm so thrilled. And I would have loved to have seen her. I kept missing her in cities on the tour of Funny Girl, and I would have loved to have seen her because she was just perfect for Mrs. Bryce.
Oh, yes.
We all go back. We all go back to a time where we weren't kids, but we were finding ourselves. Melissa was finding herself and doing jingles. And she told me the funniest story. She came to see me when I did my first nightclub act at the Maisonette at the St. Regis Hotel, which I don't know if the nightclub is still there.
I don't think so. There's so few of those rooms left.
No.
But she came and she really liked the little lamps on each table. So she put them in her purse.
As one does.
As one does. Okay, to decorate.
He's thought of doing that.
You have no idea the stuff I have. Okay. She's really an angel. She's really someone who really has a heart of gold. And she'll really be there for you. She and her sister, Claudia. And I just love them so much. And I just sat there the other night. You guys were right there, just with pride and just sitting there watching her and thinking, that's my friend. I know her. It's just, it's so great, when your friends do really well. And, she was a huge part of that whole songwriting development that went on. And I love when in her show, when she talks about just like, when I was writing with Kenny Loggins, what? Right? What? I played cards with Kenny Loggins. I gambled in Reno with Kenny Loggins. But I mean, and he's a sweet, lovely guy. Aww. It's funny because to us, we know the people. We don't know them as anything else but. Right. And it's always sort of interesting that people get so taken aback by people like Melissa, who she has written with and who she is. And we don't even think about it.
Right.
Because I think once you become famous, you sort of get used to it. But with me, it's different because I was born famous. So I didn't have a choice.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to say, you, like from the moment you took your first breath, you had a front row seat to every name in music and Hollywood and theater. And did that affect you growing up? But
no.
Did you? Because I mean, obviously, these people around you. Were you?
I didn't know who they were.
They're just old people who are coming to the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know who they were. I didn't know. My godfather was Frank Sinatra. So I mean, but to see everybody goes, oh, like that, and I go, what? Right. I don't get it because I have nothing to compare it to.
Yeah.
You know, people. The one question that has sort of driven, and I know people want to know this. When they say, what was it like? And I have to say, I have nothing to compare it to. So I'm really sorry. I know you would love to have me do some fabulous dramatic reading, but it's not going to, it's like, I don't know, they were who they were. I didn't know my mom was famous. I didn't know any of that. And it's something that it has no effect on me. Except for if I met Lawrence O'Donnell.
Naturally. Oh my God. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. And fantasizing about the West Wing being the government we should have.
Me, he'd run the other way.
Oh, stop. I mean, for anyone tuning in or not paying full attention, GGG.
Yeah.
GGG. Is Judy Garland.
Yes.
Okay. Your mother was Judy Garland.
Yes.
Your godfather was Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Your sister is Liza Minnelli.
Yeah.
Your brother-in-law, Peter Allen.
Yeah.
What else? Who else can you throw in?
That's family.
A la familia.
But that's my family.
Yeah.
You know, it's nothing. It's strange for everybody but me.
So let me tell you something, sister. Remember my name, no twister. Gonna steal your stuff away, my sister. We sure ain't got a whole lot of time. So let us entertain you.
I don't think it's strange. I mean, to me, it's you live in your skin, I live in mine, he lives in his. We all live in our own skin. We cannot experience what somebody else has experienced. We can only have empathy. We can try to imagine ourselves in those shoes, but.
You know, it's really weird. My sister's dearest friend in the world and who I just love and adore, and I'm lucky that we've reconnected because now I'm living in New York, is Mia Farrow.
Yeah.
Oh.
And Mia and I were on the phone the other night and we were just talking about, don't we find it strange because her family was famous and how she grew up. And I said, I know, it's just, that's who we are. And I said to her, I sometimes feel that I'm going to disappoint somebody because I can't tell them what they would love to hear about being born famous. But I think also it's why I will always err on the rights of the kids. Mm-hmm. Okay, when I read about so-and-so's child or whatever having some kind of an issue, I'm going to err on the side of the kid. Yeah. Okay, because that's who I am. I am a child of, and that's who I will always go to because that's where I come from. Yeah. And I think that's that. And she said, I know, I get it. There are very few people, I can say, the Sinatra family, the Martin family, my family, that there are people now who have famous, maybe relatives or people who are related to in their lives and they're famous. There are very few of us who have legends. Mm-hmm. And we have legends. We have to know that responsibility. I think we all deal with it on a different level. Some people have run from it. Some people don't want to know about it. Some people don't know. It took me a long time. It took me a real long time to make friends with a ghost until I wrote my book. And then I was lucky enough to have it turned into a mini-series.
I wanted to tell a story about a family, and I wanted to tell a story about a woman who the world knew as a legend as an icon, as one of the greatest entertainers in the world, and I only knew her as my mother. So I wanted to make sure that people understood that, and that's why I wrote my book.
It took me a long time because she wasn't around for me to ask any questions. And there was so, and still is, so much myth, okay, about her. And people have made up their own stories about what they thought. And they will sit there and they'll say, no, she did this. And I said, no, that didn't happen. That really didn't happen. It's sort of fascinating when I started to realize that I was at the gym in Los Angeles and someone said to me, oh, you know, so-and-so's friend is over there. And I said, who? And they said, oh, no, they're writing a book about your mom. And I really said, that's it. I'm done. Okay. And I thought, none of these people were in my house. Nobody was hiding under my bed writing on a tablet, you know.
I hope not.
You know, nobody was there. I thought, who are these people? And then I thought, okay, I need to tell my story.
Yes.
Nobody else's, but mine. And it's not anybody else's. It's not my sister. It's not my brother. It's not my father. It's not anybody. It was mine.
Yes.
I knew that I had to write it from what I felt then, not how I feel now.
How hard was that?
That's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
It's hard because I've read biographies and I think, oh my God, the poor man wrote this, you know, because I know they haven't written it. Okay. But then I've read biographies and I thought they went back and they really dug up that emotional level that you sort of have to. And I feel if you do want to tell your own story, you've got to be honest. And if you're not, the audience is going to know. And I was really, really lucky because I had an incredible, great editor at Simon & Schuster. And he guided me about how you can say things without saying them and the audience will know. Okay. And that's a real great thing that only an editor can teach an author. I felt like I could finally, when somebody asked me a question, I could whip out that book and say, here, read it.
That's right.
Okay. That, you know, maybe it would just answer questions. My second book was really interesting. I did a podcast with my friend James Duke Mason.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. And I did a podcast because it's, I think, one of the anniversaries of the movie that his grandfather and my mom did. And it was all about all 5 movies of A Star Is Born. And it was called The Film That Got Away. It was a real journey into those movies. I've never considered A Star Is Born to be a Hollywood story. It's a story about human nature and how we all have watched someone rise. And then we've watched them fall and somebody else is coming up the ladder.
That's life.
And it's life.
Yeah.
And it's human nature. And that's why this movie keeps getting made over and over and over and over
It's
again.
an everyman tale.
Yeah. And guess they're probably doing one right now. They're testing right now because there are going to be so many more. Because again, it's not, if it was just a Hollywood story, there wouldn't be that many. We talked about that type of the studio systems and all of that with my friend James Duke and what his, I do remember his mom and his dad, and that was James's grandfather, and he never met him. So I was able to sort of say he was wonderful and sweet and loving and really lovely.
So growing up amongst, you know, the glitterati of Hollywood meant nothing to you.
But no, wait. See, when you say the glitter, it wasn't like my mother put on costumes.
Oh, no. I'm just talking
and had parties.
I'm just talking about the circles of people who would come in and out the door.
Yeah.
But, that was everyday life.
Yeah.
How did your perspective change? Like when you did your mom's Christmas special and you were in front of the camera, or when you were performing at the Palace?
I didn't have to go to school that week. That's all.
Christmas show.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. Hello. Next. Well, I guess we're all in the spirit of the season by now, so I'm doing what everyone else is going to do tonight. I'm going to stay home with my family, and I'd like you to meet my daughter, Lorna.
Pleased to meet you.
And this is my son, Joe.
How do you do? Why Santa Claus is coming to town.
That's what mattered.
Yes.
I get to sing Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Yes.
On the Judy Garland Show, and
Yes.
there's no school.
Yeah, but it was on my mom's
I love
television
it.
show, and I didn't have to go to school. It was great. I mean, you
Why
know,
didn't our moms have a television show?
You're expecting,
I mean-
those things of, and I'm like telling you the truth about how did I really feel? I didn't have to go to school. It was great.
I'm waiting for that moment where you're like, the bug bit you and no bugs.
There was no bugs. There were no bugs. No. It was like you're born into it. There are no bugs.
That's hilarious.
I mean, it's everyone's abnormal and my normal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So if your parents were, if your dad was a plumber and then you went to work with him one day to help fix a leak, you wouldn't have been like, my first leak. No, you grew up, you knew plumbing. That's what we talk about.
Listen, it goes down the line of. Also, it goes down the line of lineage. There are so many people who have lawyers, let's say, as famous, in their world. Okay, and somebody's going to be a lawyer.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and the doctors and all of that. So, I mean, me going into this business wasn't that unusual.
Right.
Not at all.
Because it would have been interesting if I wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer. Okay, but I didn't. I just carried on the family tradition. And that's what I did. Was it harder? I think today, because of the devices and the electronics, it is more difficult because we're not being judged on our talent. We're being judged on how many followers we have.
That's
and
correct.
It really is frustrating and interesting and something that we can't fight. And I have to say that you can't be cast in the theater because you have a bunch of followers if you can't bring 8 shows a week home.
Right.
I hope not.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
You really can't. And that's why, to me, the theater and Broadway, and even just the theater, even if you're in your hometown and you're on a stage and you're studying and you're learning something and that's what you want to do, okay, you can't fake that. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons that I think my mother was so beloved, because of her artistry on a stage, and she was so honest. And it was the honesty of every single performance that she gave. It's the honesty of the character of Dorothy. It's the honesty of the character of Esther Blodgett. It's the honesty. She just had the gift and the talent to bring that to not only the screen, but to the stage, because there were very few people that had that talent of coming from vaudeville and all of that, and then going into the movies and then going back to the stage, being able to take that gift and share it. I mean, every time I walk by Carnegie Hall, I remember that night. I remember everything, that the first time I played Carnegie Hall, what it meant. Yes. The first time I played the Hollywood Bowl, what it meant. I think it's just something that when you do decide to do the same thing that a famous parent and or relative has done, it's scary, and it can open the door, but something's going to walk in before you do. Mm-hmm. Okay, whereas the person who doesn't have that can't get in the door.
From the gospel, according to Lorna.
No,
I meant that in the most loving way. I mean, it makes total sense.
Well, you know something, I think the only time that I ever really, I guess it was 2 years ago, ever felt like, what have I really learned, is when I turned 70. And I'm 72. And I think to myself, what have I learned? What have I learned not to do? Not what have I learned how to. What have I learned not to do? And it's interesting. I think that everybody might have that time. It takes a lot of time to grow up and to feel comfortable in your own being, because you think to yourself, oh, I'm getting invited to this, or I'm getting invited. I know why they're inviting me sometimes. I get it. I know. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't wake up and take a stupid pill. Okay, trust me. All right.
Listen, American royalty.
Well, no, but I don't think of it as that. I think of myself as an entertainer, an actor, a performer in show business that is just as insecure about the insecurities of this business as everybody else. And that is the only part of this business. I would never, ever, ever complain about being in this business, because I chose it. I wanted to do it. I made the choice. But the insecurity of when your next job is coming along is tough. It's scary.
Yeah.
We all know people that have been standing one day getting a Tony, an Emmy, an Oscar, and then they're on the whatever happened to list.
Yeah.
The thought occurs to me, or the question occurs to me. What was your experience like the first time that you could sit with your grandchildren at whatever age that was and watch The Wizard of Oz?
One story. And if you want to cut this, it's fine.
We probably won't.
My son was no, it wasn't preschool. He was kindergarten age. And they had a circle of kids that were asking what their parents did, and, a day of, celebrating their parents and all of that. And they got to Jesse. And there was one kid in Jesse's class who was truly one of those kids that was so funny and gifted. But he was just really funny. He was just a genuinely funny child, right? Anyway, they were going around the classroom. Everybody was saying what their mom or their dad or, grandparents or whatever, they did. And it got to Jesse. Jesse got all of the courage, and he said, my grandmother was Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. And this kid said, yeah, my dad directed it. That kid was Jonah Hill. And Jonah Hill was such a sweet, wonderful little boy. And I just adored, but he shot him. Oh yeah, my dad directed it. Poor Jesse just and Jonah's mom, Sharon, told me that happened. And I just said, oh well. They were putting The Wizard of Oz into the Sphere in Las Vegas.
It's a totally immersive experience.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Fabulous.
They could have chosen so many films. They chose Oz. I guess what they've had to do is sort of imagine it for those huge screens and redo everything. And I'm really excited. I'm very, very pleased. And am I amazed at the success of Wicked? No. No. Because of the story of where it came from.
Of course.
There would be no Wicked.
There'd be no Wicked.
Well, I know.
Without The Wizard of Oz.
But I've talked to, the wonderful Winnie Holtzman who wrote it, and I've met John Chu, and we have kept in touch via machines. And I think that he did such an extraordinary job with the direction of the movie. And I was so thrilled. And I was so relieved really relieved that he took time to honor the original material. And I just loved it. And I can't wait for part 2. I think it's going to be extraordinary. And it comes out on my birthday. I know.
Oh, fabulous.
I voiced how much I enjoyed and was so grateful that the casting was perfect. You know, Ariana was just perfect. And Cynthia was beyond anything I could have ever imagined about how deep her knowledge of this character went. My daughter wrote to both of them and said, "Welcome to the Oz family." And it was
sweet.
really cool.
That's sweet. We can't wait to watch. We haven't seen part 1. Forgive us. But
Stop it.
No, we will. We will.
Okay, I'm leaving. Okay, if you don't watch that movie,
We'll watch it this weekend. We'll watch it this weekend.
No, please. It's, oh my God, it's really great.
Manny Eisenberg.
Yes.
He produced 68 shows, managed over 100 shows or something. But he was the general manager.
He managed your mom's show, The Palace.
Oh, okay, great.
And you were in it with Joe in 1967.
67.
Okay, the third and last time, right?
Yeah.
And Manny went on about the adulation and Over the Rainbow and the gay audience and what that song meant to gay men.
What he thought it meant.
What he thought it meant, yes.
Right.
His take was about there's a better life over the rainbow. We'd like your take.
Well, you know, it's a very simple song, okay? And what it means to so many people are so many different things. And I think that it, again, like mythology, the myth is sort of bigger than what they originally went to write, because what they wrote was almost cut out of the movie.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? You know, my mother loved the song, and it was her staple, and she knew that. And she respected the song, but there were certain things that people have come up with. For instance, when she played The Palace, time where she came back from being fired from MGM, and there's that footage of her singing it, and it looks like she's crying, right? Well, I mean, she wasn't really crying about that song. She was crying because that show was over and she had done it. And she was relieved. And it was sort of these tears of, I did it and it's over. And it was like she crossed the finish line. And I get that. I know what that's like. I know the expectation of just, you're done. I've always felt that it's a song about hope. And that's all I can say. And it's in the lyric, there is a better place, okay? And that's what it's about. And when people take it into, I feel it's a song for everyone. The gay community has done so much to keep my mother's legacy in full view. And that's one of the reasons I am very attached to what pride means to people and what happened at Stonewall. And they have, the LGBTQ plus community has made sure that people have carried on her legacy. And I'm incredibly grateful. But that song is for everyone. That movie meant so much to so many millions of people, at the time hundreds of thousands. She really enjoyed making the film. Did any of them know what it would become? No. It was just another movie, and that was just another song. Yeah. So when people said, she didn't know, but it became, in a way, larger than her. Okay. And she knew that, but she always knew where it went in the show. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, it was the closer.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
When that started, we knew she'd be home. Okay.
Yeah. But nobody was going to leave early to get their car.
No. Nobody was going to leave early to get their cars. But you know, when you talk about Manny Eisenberg, I loved Manny. I loved how he treated people. I loved how I worked for him. To me, he was the antithesis of a producer. Mm-hmm. He respected actors. He certainly respected writers. He respected people. We weren't numbers. He was a real human being for so many of us. And it's people like that who, when you grow up in this business and you are able to have that in your back pocket and say, I worked for him, that's pretty special, because he was so great to all of us. And he's somebody who, when you say that, it's like my heart gets happy because I love him. I love him. I do. We all sort of grew up together in the theater in a time where Broadway became a community and not just a place that we worked. And a lot of us left to go to Los Angeles, just like our forefathers, I should say, did. But the friendships and all of that in the theater are really special, because when you're on a stage, you don't get to do it again. That's it.
That's it.
You're out there. Tag, you're in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that was the 11 o'clock number. The grand finale, we like to ask, there's another Sinatra quote. I'm for whatever gets you through the night, be it prayer, tranquilizers, or a bottle of Jack Daniels. What would you?
What, to get me through the night? It would have to be laughter. I mean, it has to be. That's the one thing that I find has been my survivor instinct, my gift, because my mother was truly one of the funniest people I've ever known in my life. And she gave me that sense of humor to be able to laugh at yourself. And that's really important. So I find that laughter, you may not find it then, but you will find, and it was Joan Rivers who taught me about finding the funny.
I've never sung this song, ever. Not because it was too hard for me emotionally, but because I always felt that you can't improve on perfection. But I thought to myself, if I'm ever going to sing this, now is the time. Is a hopeless jumble, and the raindrops tumble all around.